What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the finals of the most recent RMC locals. This is going to be between myself on the right playing the Bond of Friendship deck that I took to Nationals, and then on the left we are going to be having Jesmon. Getting into this match, I knew I was going to have to make some decent plays going into this because this Jesmon player did actually beat Chris in the first round of Swiss of this tournament, and me and Chris are using the exact same 55 cards. So for the first round and the last round, the Jesmon player is playing the exact same deck, so I'm going to go ahead and promote out. I do have this Ikakumon on top of the Madoki. I didn't hit Matt, so I didn't see it really mattering too much. Without a red memory boost on the board, the Madoki isn't going to mean too much, and we actually see a Huckmon whiff completely right there, which is very surprising, considering that Huckmon has a lot of targets to be able to hit. So I'm going to be able to swing over with the Ikaku and draw with the Upa. I'm just chilling at 2 memory, so I'm going to go ahead and play down a Gabu to put my opponent at 1. In the current state of the game, I usually want to be putting my opponent to 1 or 2 as much as possible, so that way they can't go ahead and be digivolving into their next phase as fast as possible. So now if I put them at 2 or lower, they're not going to be able to go into Jesmon without passing turn. I'm going to be able to play Matt and gain a memory with the BT6 Gabumon there, and I'm just going to start swinging in and get some early checks in. Now that I have Matt, the presence of being able to Bond a Friendship next time I promote is there, so I want to start getting that chip damage so that way I can threaten that and be able to potentially go in for game. And now I'm going to Hammer Spark and Digivolve into Octomon, once again putting my opponent at 1. I want to make it so they have as little memory as possible, and they can't go into Jesmon. If they do want to go ahead and promote and swing over my Ikakumon, I would be able to trade in with the Octomon, but they decided to just go straight into the Jesmon, and so now I'm going to be able to just start swinging in. Like I said, they were going to be able to go into the Jesmon no matter what, but I wanted them to be able to have to pass back turn and slow down one more time. I do hit the Ice Wall, which is going to be good. I Digivolve the Madoki in Raising and then draw into the Gabumon, which is rough because I really needed the Gabumon in Raising there, so that way I'd be able to gain 1, draw 1 with the Mat next turn. And if my board gets cleared and I only get put to 1 memory next turn, then I'd be able to promote, and I wouldn't have the memory to be able to go into Lobomon to be able to swing in for game. And especially if they get blockers, so they're going to go and swing 3 checks. I do hit the Mat, which is helpful, but once again, I don't have a Gabumon in Raising, so they're not really going to matter too much. My opponent's going to swing, play down the Seal, be able to gain a memory, and if they attack again and play a Blanc, I could be in quite a bit of trouble because then they have 2 blockers and I won't be able to get around them. And they're just going to hard play the Blanc and not even attempt swinging. Don't want their Digimon to be suspended, so that way potentially I don't go into Bond. But now I'm at 2. I don't have a Hammer Spark or any way to gain memory, so I can't go into Bond and win the game. And the biggest problem here is the fact that since I'm only at 2, I do have a Kendo Garurumon in hand. So if I had 1 more memory, I'd be able to Digivolve into the Kendo. I'd be able to swing, bounce the Blanc back into their hand, and then they wouldn't be able to block. I'd be able to swing the check, and then most likely be able to swing in with the Madoki and go for game. But unfortunately, again, having the Madoki and Raising instead of the Gabumon right there is going to bite me in the butt because don't be able to gain the memory, can't go into Bond, can't go into Kendo, and as of right now, I am just in a bad spot because they're going to be able to swing 2 checks with the Delicate Plan and then be able to unsuspend with Savior and swing in right there. And so with the Delicate Plan, there was nothing really going to be able to help me there anyway. The only cards that were going to be able to save me were Cocytus Breath, and I couldn't have hit that because of the Delicate Plan, or Ice Wall obviously because of Delicate Plan also shutting it down. But my opponent, I am going to have them go first, and they do whiff a rookie besides the Blanc, so they're just going to play the Blanc, put me to 3. I'm going to be able to play the Gabumon in Raising, play on the BT6 Gabumon, and then play a Mat for 2 because I will be gaining the memory from the Gabumon. Now just hard playing the Bao Huckmon. Need to start progressing on board, it looks like, because they're whiffing the rookie. So just going with the Bao Hook, gonna be able to swing 7, draw with the Upa, and then Gabumon's effect will let me hit the Davis, and then swinging into the Bao Hook, which means that my Octomon does live, which is very good because now it can potentially swing in again in the future. And my opponent's only at 2 memory, which once again I said is important because now if they want to go into Savior Hook, they're gonna have to have a Seal in hand if they want to make it so that their turn doesn't pass. But they start building up. They looks like they do hit the Savior but hit the Blanc, and so still gonna put me at 3. Doesn't matter if they had the Seal there. They needed the Savior a little bit earlier before they started Digivolving and Raising. But now my opponent has a lot of presence of blockers. They have the Cordramon in the back, plus the 2 Blancs on the board, which have blocker thanks to that Savior Huckmon. And then plus the Savior Huckmon is also a threat because it can turn into a Jesmon itself. And then with the Bao Huck underneath it, they can attack and just delete my Gabumon. So that's something that I kind of have to keep wary of. Right now I'm kind of swinging, trying to find the Bond. I was searching right there. Wasn't able to hit it off the Gabumon, so I'm going to go ahead and play a Gabu, and then I'm just going to play an Ice Wall, put my opponent to 1, again lowering their aggression, and then if they want to attack with the Savior to be able to either trade into my Octo and pop my Gabu, or just swing face, it is going to pass turn and I'll go to 3 with Davis. So I have to decide what they want to do here. They do just decide to go with the Jesmon. They are in a position where it's kind of weak to both the Rattlestar and Cocytus Breath. If I do hit them and be able to bounce it back, slow it down, I'm going to play a mat, and since I have 3 BT6 Gabumon on the board, I gain 3 memory, and I essentially play the mat for free. Gonna once again draw with Upa and search with the EX1 Gabumon for the 3rd time with this Octomon, and still not finding a Bond of Friendship somehow. I'm assuming that there's got to be a few in the raising or towards the bottom of the deck, and then like I said, this is a little weak to the Cocytus Breath or the Rattlestar, so I am going to go ahead and end my turn. Since I don't have the Bond to be able to try and swing in for game, I'm just going to go with the Cocytus Breath. That does make it so as of right now, the Blancs no longer have Blocker unless they want to Digivolve into a Savior on top of this Cordramon or play a Huckmon. And without Blocker going into my next turn, I definitely will be able to win. I have 4 Digimon on board. 1 is the Octomon they can't get rid of, and then I'm going to have the 3 Tamers on board, which means that I can go into a couple hybrids, especially if I have Hammer Spark. I'm not sure what me and my opponent were talking about right here, but it looks like we're discussing something. They're going to go ahead and play the Huckmon. Let's see if they can hit this time. Do hit. The couple Huckmons before were whiffs, and for some reason, I didn't notice this, but I think they just trashed the cards instead of putting them on the bottom. I don't know how I missed that until just right now, but there's no way we're getting to that part of the deck anyway, so it won't end up mattering. I'm definitely just going to go and attempt to try to win the game this turn if possible. Swing again, I'll be able to draw and then search with the Gabumon, hopefully be able to hit the Bond. I don't hit the Bond, hit the BT6 Gabu once again. Going to be able to survive in raising. We have 3 blockers and I have 3 attackers, so I'm going to go ahead and Digivolve into the Kendo, go down to 0 and Hammer Spark to 1 so I can play around Judgment of the Blade. Going to be able to play Mat once again for free since I have the 3 BT6 Gabus on board. Swing, bounce back the Blanc, and then now I have the perfect amount of attacks to be able to go in and take game 2. Going into game 3, my opponent will be having me go first because we want to be able to get those draws. Jesmon wants to get that extra draw so that way they don't brick, potentially get that rookie they need. Going to go with the Huckmon in raising, something that usually hurts a lot of Jesmon players, but when you have Greymon into Save Your Huck, you don't really need to play down the Huckmon as much. You just want to get that out there. So I do have the EX1 Gabu in raising with the Upamon and then the Ikakumon on top, so I'll be able to get draws and search off of those, which is good. And then the Davis put my opponent down to 1. Once again, slowing down the progression of the Jesmon coming out. And so now that I'm going to 3, I'm going to be able to swing over the Huckmon, get the draw and the search. Going to be able to Digivolve into the Drabu and raising. Was hoping to find a better Gabumon, but it's okay. We're going to be able to get the BT6 Gabu out and then be able to play the mat for 2, making it so my opponent, again, once they Digivolve into the Jesmon, they're going to have to pass back over to my turn. I'm trying as much as possible to not give my opponent 3 memory and force them to have something like Gravity Crush, which I do believe is not in this list, so I don't have to worry about that as much. But now we have multiple Digimon out. I'm going to go ahead and swing in with the Kaku so I can get the Gabu search, start to get some cards, potentially get the Bond this time since I did miss it that last game where it would have been pretty good for multiple turns. But again, going to start swinging in because I want to get those checks early. With the mat out now, I can threaten Bond in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and play down the Gabumon, play the Ice Wall to go down to 0, and then I'm going to play a mat, be able to gain 2 memory with the Gabus, and put my opponent back to 1 with the Ice Wall. So if they do attack, they still can play a Seal to go down to 0 and keep it on their turn, but they don't have the tie on board, so they're only swinging for 2 checks, so I'm not as scared about it. Gonna go ahead and swing into the Gabumon unsuspended to be able to unsuspend and play the Blanc and do 2 checks. 2 hybrids coming out, nothing really happening there, and then I'm going to go to 3 with the Davis. Now I can Digivolve the Gabumon in raising yet another BT6 Gabu. I've been seeing all kinds of them this match, and so I would like to see those, obviously, because I want to be able to go into Bond on top of those, but I do kind of have to deal with the Jesmon now. It is swinging 2 checks and being able to unsuspend, so as of right now, if I don't do something about it right now, they're going to be able to swing 2 checks, be able to unsuspend, swing 2 more checks, I'll go down to 0 checks, and then they'll be able to go into Omni, so I am just going to go ahead and start swinging in. Swing, unsuspend, swing, unsuspend, and swing with the BT6, and then I can swing in with Gabu. So just had to go in for game right there. I would have easily been punished by Judgment of the Blade if that did come out, but like I said, with my opponent having the Jesmon being able to swing 2 checks, unsuspend, and swing 2 checks with the Blanc on board, and potentially Omnimon, I was potentially just going to lose game next turn, and right now me and my opponent are talking about how if I let turn pass back, I likely was going to lose. So I had to just go ahead and go for game right there and hope that there was no Judgment of the Blade in there, and was was thankfully able to dodge the Judgment of the Blade and take this finals of this weekly the night before Nationals, so it was a good little boost. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing you even more EX1 content and soon BT7. But with that being said, I'll catch you all next time. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.